I'm a teacher with over 15 years of experience, and I love using open educational resources with my learners. I find the flexibility of the resources to be valuable because they allow me to manipulate and edit content so that I can create engaging learning experiences for those accessing my courses. I use OER as primary sources of instruction and also as supplemental materials for when learners need extra help. Here's one example of how I use a lesson plan with embedded OER in a flipped instructional model. So what is the flipped delivery model? Generally speaking, a flipped class is one in which direct instruction on a topic is completed by the learner outside of class. In-class time is used for activities, skill development, projects, and discussion that apply and extend the learning. Including open educational resources in a flipped classroom is a good way to provide learners with rich learning experiences and additional classroom activities to reinforce their learning. As we go through this video, I will show you my course with different Moodle resources and activities that I used in a flipped instructional model. My sample lesson plan aligns with the WIPIA model and includes open educational resources that I want my learners to explore to help them understand the scientific inquiry process. You will learn how I constructed my course using different Moodle elements. I'll explain why I selected each resource and activity. I'll also show you how I use the Moodle gradebook to track my learners' progress. I've included my sample Moodle activities and resources under this video presentation so you can explore and customize them for your learners. As a teacher, I want to find opportunities to provide my learners meaningful instruction and interactions. When I teach my courses in a flipped format using Moodle, I want to provide them with the engaging materials they review at home as often as needed. Moodle is like having a set of helping hands always available for my learners. This lets me spend my time in the classroom confirming their mastery of the materials before we advance to the next lesson. Here's how I use Moodle to offer my content to learners using a flipped delivery model. Here's my sample WIPIA lesson plan. It includes two different open educational resources. One resource is a video from the TED EDU video series. The second is a simulation for an extension activity. I'm using both of these resources to help my learners think about the value of inquiry and scientific exploration. My intent was to craft the course in a way that would give my learners the ability to learn the core content on their own. Our time together in the classroom can then be spent completing the extension activity and discussing the content that they learned at home. Learners can also ask questions and receive personalized instruction when needed. When you design your course, you want to make it clear to your learners through your directions and context that you're available for support during your in-class sessions. The examples that follow will explain one way in which you might organize your course materials for a flipped delivery model. This is a view of my course homepage where I've aligned the warm-up, introduction, presentation, practice, evaluation, and application elements from my OER lesson plan to various Moodle resources and activities. Here I set up the warm-up activity as a Moodle lesson. The lesson was chosen because it lets me provide a variety of content types, such as movies and text, as well as questions to check for understanding. In this case, I did not need to present this information in the classroom. Using the Moodle lesson activity allows my learners to watch and/or read the materials as often as they like before our class discussions. I want my learners to be prepared for our class before they walk through the door. The Moodle lesson is a great activity because it provides content that is broken up into short, learner-controlled segments, such as my OER video. Learners can move forward and backward through the content or jump to different pages using the lesson menu. Moodle does a great job tracking learner progress and providing feedback. For this activity, I chose lesson settings that provide immediate feedback to my learners. My learners appreciate it, and even I can't provide feedback that quickly in a facilitated environment. In the learner view, the lesson provides a progress bar to let them know that the requirements for the activity have been met. Utilizing Moodle's progress bar in this context makes for a more meaningful interaction with course materials and makes the learners feel supported in their work. Back on my course homepage, I've also used the Moodle page resource for the introduction portion of my lesson plan. A Moodle page is a resource that displays content such as text, images, audio, or video. One of the things I like about using the page here is that learners quickly realize that these types of resources identify portions of the course in which they will be consumers of information. There is no need for them to do an online assignment or submit work, so the Moodle page works well for this type of content. For the presentation portion of the lesson plan, I use the lesson module again to incorporate some of my OER content. When I want my learners to review and learn new material, I need some indication that they have actually done so. The lesson activity not only provides feedback and progress to the learner, it also allows me as the teacher to know when a learner completed the activity and how well he or she answered questions related to the content. For this presentation, I embedded my TED.edu OER video clip within a Moodle lesson page. Learners like that they can watch the video as often as needed. As a teacher, I can assess learners' understanding by asking questions that demonstrate their knowledge of the materials. I use specific questions to show that learners have reviewed and understood the content. Once they return to the classroom, they are prepared to discuss the video. The Moodle lesson can be set up to automatically grade questions and provide customized feedback. I avoid questions like short answer and essay because those question types require the teacher to grade each one individually. Learners appreciate the immediate feedback. By configuring Moodle to do most of my grading, I have more time for rich conversation and skill development during our time together in the classroom. As a teacher, I can review the lesson reports to determine if my learners accessed the information and how well they scored. Lesson reports are available through the administration block, usually found on the left side of your course. Detailed lesson statistics provide additional information on learner performance. When I review the detailed statistics of my Moodle lesson, I can determine what percentage of learners chose which answers. If I notice that many learners are incorrectly answering a particular question, then the problem may be in the phrasing of the question. If so, I can edit the wording of the question to be more clear. Now let's move on to the other elements of the WIPIA lesson plan. In this example, the practice, evaluation, and application activities from the lesson plan were created as Moodle assignments to be completed in class. The settings for these activities allow the learners to save their work without submitting it. This works well because learners can consult with me in the classroom to answer any questions or clarify concepts. When learners are confident of their work, they can complete the assignment and submit it for grading when they are ready. Learners can see their scores in the gradebook and know they are ready to move on to the next activity. As the teacher, Moodle allows me to control how and when a learner can submit their assignments for grading. It is frequently necessary for learners to revise their work, even after it was submitted for grading. All work submitted via Moodle remains within the course as a part of the assignment activity. There's no need to save work in any other places or on other devices. The settings for how I set up my assignments are found under the Assignment Administration block. After submitting their work, learners want to know, am I done? By viewing the check marks in the Your Progress column, students will know what has been completed and what they have left. Moodle's course settings allow me to turn on completion tracking, so learners know what they have completed in the course. The activity settings also allow for activity completion tracking. Another way to view learner progress is through the gradebook. Not only do learners want to know their progress, they also want to keep track of their grades. By clicking on Grades in the Administration block, the Moodle Gradebook allows learners to see all their work and any comments and feedback I have given them, as well as their overall score for the course materials. When I want to access all my learners' scores, I go to the Gradebook. The Gradebook is a robust resource that provides many reports and ways of viewing learner scores, feedback, and assignment submissions. The link to grades can be found in the Course Administration block, usually found on the left side of your course. Clicking on that link will provide you with the ability to enter scores, categorize your gradebook items, and track student progress. In the gradebook, you can access an overview of all learners' scores through the Grader Report, or you can drill down to find scores recorded for just one student with the User Report. I often want to see how well a student is doing individually, and the User Report allows me to see all their scores, including the comments and feedback posted within their assignments. This video was meant to provide you, the teacher, with ideas and guidance on how your WIPIA lesson plan could be delivered using Moodle's activities and resources in a flipped instructional model. Examples included how I used the Moodle lesson to show an open educational resources presentation and a Moodle assignment to give my learners an opportunity to practice what they have learned. We also reviewed how I track my learners' progress using the gradebook and completion tracking tools. Keep in mind, Moodle is flexible and allows you many options on how you can present your learning materials. Be sure to review the sample Moodle activities and resources provided after this video, I wish you the best of luck in creating your OER learning opportunities using Moodle.